I'm a tangled mess right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Cozy Soul Knitting Podcast. My name is Saoirse and I believe this is episode 9 of this podcast. First and foremost, we need to address I'm probably gonna be like kind of red and sweaty this whole time because it's getting to be quite hot outside, and this is I was waiting for my camera to charge. So I would have sat down to film earlier, but I needed the camera to charge. And it's kind of hot. My house does not have like a good AC. I've set up like the portable AC units. I have one upstairs and one down here, but it would be too loud to turn on, obviously. And so I can't have AC running while I film this. And thankfully it's not as hot as it has been the past few days. This is why I'm downstairs and not in my little craft room, because that room doesn't get a ton of natural light, so I do have to use studio lights to film, otherwise you probably wouldn't be able to see me. And those get really hot, obviously, so you know, we're not doing that today. So we are just going to sit here, try not to be too— my water bottle is leaking. That's weird because it's like standing upright, so odd. Anyways, I'm gonna try not to get too hot, but yeah, I was not gonna do makeup today. I was not going to work with studio lights today. Just trying to stay as cool as possible here. I say as like, I don't even know if it's— I don't even think it's supposed to get up into the 80s today, but yeah, it's only 74 degrees outside, but it has been so hot lately, like 90s. And my bedroom was getting up to like 90 degrees, and down here was getting up to 80. If like I was, even when I was running the AC, it would only cool it down to like— the past couple of days it was only cooling it down to like 77 degrees. Like it was not doing a whole lot. And then at night it doesn't get— like it wasn't cooling off enough to like cool down the house. So it has been a fun past week, but that is the main reason I did not film earlier, was because I was just not feeling it with all of the heat going on. So this past week, heat wave. The week before that, I was in Oregon for 3 weeks. So I have not filmed in like over a month at this point, because I think I filmed my last podcast a week before I went down to Oregon. Yeah. So I worked from Oregon for a week because I work remotely. So honestly, as long as I have like a quiet place and Wi-Fi, like, you know, I can work. So I worked from the Oregon coast for a week, and then I had 2 weeks off. And then this past week— today's Saturday, by the way— this past week was my first week back at work after my vacation. Sorry, I just had to pause because I thought I was gonna sneeze, but it didn't come out, and now I'm like, oh man, I hate that feeling. Okay. So yeah, it's been a while, and I have a lot to talk about, so I think I'm just gonna jump into it. Try to not be as rambly today, try to stick more to the point. One thing I am gonna try to do though is I would like to remember, so I'm saying it out loud, so when I'm editing it, I'll be like, oh right, I want to put in clips of me actually putting on my finished objects so that you guys can see what they actually look like on. I've been doing a really bad job of that in my podcast videos and also on Instagram. Like I have never not once ever posted a picture of a finished object with like me wearing it. So and that, honestly, the biggest part of that is that I like don't know how to take pictures of myself without, you know, like I'm like, how do I set like my camera or my phone up to like take a picture where I don't have to like click a button like so I can be far enough away from the camera but still like— and I'm not gonna have other people take pictures of me because that would be too awkward for me. Like I couldn't do it. So yeah, I'm gonna try to figure that out and start posting because I'm actually liking how some of my finished objects are coming out now. Whereas also before too, that was another thing. I was like, I don't really feel like this turned out the way that I wanted it to, so I'm kind of like, I don't really like, I don't know. I wasn't really wanting to wear my knits because like they didn't turn out as well as I was hoping they would, or there was something I didn't like about them, or like whatever, you know. So that was also another thing about like not taking pictures of my finished objects, because I was like, I don't like how this looks, so I don't want to show anybody what it looks like. Anyways, so I think that was everything that I needed to say to start off this podcast, so we can go ahead and get started really quickly. So I'm going to start with finished objects. And in lieu of me talking about what I'm wearing, since I'm not wearing any knits, I wanted to show you that I did put in the zipper on my Lanark. I feel like it turned out really well. Like I'm like, oh, I actually did this. Like I don't know, I was so nervous to do this. I did it down in Oregon so my mom could like help because I was like, I don't want to do this myself. But I did do it like myself with her supervision. The only issue, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of pulling away. Like this is supposed to be more like that, and it's kind of pulling away. So I might need to like reinforce this section. But yeah, all in all, I'm still really, really excited with how this turned out. So my Lanark is 100% finished. Those of you who are like, it's not finished until it's blocked and all the ends are trimmed and all of that, yeah, it's finished now, like 100%. Okay, so sticking with finished objects, I'm trying to figure out if I'm showing you the front or the back before I hold it up. Hold on. Okay, pretty sure this is the front. I finished the mini mock neck tank. And sorry, it's a little wrinkly. I finished it when I was in Oregon. I blocked it down there and everything. And then I I don't know if I don't know if I'm supposed to hang. I don't want to hang my knits because like I don't want them to kind of like unnecessarily stretch. I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do with your knits, or if it depends on what the fiber is of the yarn. So I should probably look into that more. I had it folded up, and then when I came back home, obviously I had to fold it up and put it in a duffel bag, and it just stayed there. And so it's a little wrinkly, so apologies. I haven't worn it yet. One of the reasons is because it is 100% wool. This yarn is Knit Picks gloss fingering in the colorway Masala. Because it is 100% wool, I feel like it's just been like a tad bit too hot to wear, but I could have worn it down in Oregon, and I was thinking about it a couple of times, but I ended up not doing it because all the times that I wanted to wear it were when we were like going out and we were going to eat, and I was like, I don't want to spill food on this. I'm like, that's the other thing. This is the first project, or finished product, finished object, finished. This is my first garment. That's what I'll say. My first garment that I am so obsessed with how it turned out. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm really happy with how the Lanark turned out. It has some mistakes and it's a little too big, but I still think that I'm gonna wear it a lot. But this is like the first garment that has come out like how I was hoping it would, like almost exactly. And so I was like, if I wear this out to eat and I spill something on the first garment that I'm actually like feel like turned out like so good, I'm gonna be so upset. So I just like didn't, and like then I'm like, well, that's stupid, because I think if you have nice things, you should use those nice things and not wait for like special occasions and all that necessarily, because I think then you end up never using it. And so I don't want to have that mentality, but I think I just need to let this just kind of be for a bit while I kind of work up to wearing it. But I really like how it fits. I really like how it turned out. The only issue, where is it? There is like this weird, like, I don't know. It's just like this part of the yarn like pilled or something as I was knitting it, and it's just like right at the boob level, I feel like. So that's something I might need to like figure out before I actually like wear it, because I feel like I'll like be annoyed by it. But other than that, I mean, I think this yarn is going to pill quite a bit because I feel like it's already pilling a bit and I haven't worn it yet. So it's a very soft yarn, and so I was kind of expecting that. I don't think I'm gonna hold it against any yarns that pill, because sometimes just that's what I've heard is like the softer ones are gonna pill, and that's just part of life. And if you want a soft garment, you might have to deal with a little bit of pilling. So I'm not like upset about it, but I just thought I would note that for anyone who cares. But other than that, I really feel like the stitch definition on this is really nice, and I loved working with it. And this pattern, if you watched my last podcast episode, you already know I really love this pattern. I think it is so well written. It's like organized so neatly. I just love the look of it. I loved all of it. And the only part that I was kind of like not the biggest fan of was ribbing on the body, and that was just because it was on such small needles and it was taking a long time. And at that point I'm like, I want this to be done because I'm so close. So another thing I want to note to you guys as well. Do you guys see the neckline? First of all, can I just say my 1x1 rib on the neckline looks really good, I think, personally. And I always feel like my 1x1 rib looks like bad. But on the neckline and on the body, it looks pretty good. Like this just has really nice stitch definition. And then these little details here, I don't know. The way that you pick up the stitches is really cool. I don't think it's necessarily different than how you would pick up neckline stitches on anything else, but it just worked out really well in this one. And I think part of the reason is that in the pattern, it actually tells you how many stitches to pick up in which section of the neck, which I really appreciate, because I'm sorry, but I kind of hate how patterns don't tell you, like, they'll tell you a rate to pick up sometimes, but sometimes they don't. They just tell you like pick up this many stitches, and then other times they'll tell you like a rate to pick them up. And I have not once had that work out for me where the rate was the same as what was suggested in the pattern in order to get all the stitches picked up. I've never once had that happened. And this one, it doesn't tell you a rate to pick up. It tells you exactly how many stitches for which part of the neckline, which I loved. And I think more patterns need to do that, because it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of confusing. It just seems like it's kind of a confusing thing where it's just so easy to do it kind of off, you know? I don't know. And I've been having some issues with necklines on some of my other garments. And I think if those patterns had just said, hey, for this part of the neck, for like the front part, pick up this many, for the side, pick up this many, for the back, pick up this many, I think I would have been able to figure it out better. And yeah, so we'll come back to that topic, because my next finished object, I had an issue with the neckline. So yeah, anyways, but yeah, this is my first finished object. And again, like I said, I would highly recommend this pattern if you haven't already knit it. Oh, and did I say this is, sorry, this pattern is by Jessie Maed Designs. I'm so sorry if I didn't say that in the beginning. I think I just got too excited to talk about it. And it's one of those patterns where I'm like, oh, I'm obsessed with it, so obviously everyone else is too, but that might not be the case. So you might not have heard of this pattern. So yeah, I should probably say that better. And I'm sure I put a picture. I'll stop talking about that now. But yeah, again, I just want to say, like, this is my first garment that I actually, where I feel like, okay, I can knit, like, that sounds weird. Like, what I mean is, like, the things that I've been knitting up until now, I'm always like, man, like, that didn't quite turn out, like, it was the wrong size or whatever. Like, this one, I mean, I actually haven't measured it, but it had the right amount. Like, when I tried it on after it blocked, I was like, yes, like, this is the amount of positive ease that or whatever ease it was supposed to have, like, in my head. Like, all of it kind of made sense, and like it was exactly what I pictured it would be. And every other pattern that I've done so far, it's like okay, like that one was a little too small, or this one's a little too big, or this kind of like, I don't know, I messed up here, so it kind of looks weird. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? This is the first pattern where I'm like, wow, I am a knitter. Like I can actually knit things that I will wear as long as I can get over actually like the possibility of potentially ruining them by like dropping food on them or something. But you know, it's like I actually want to wear this. I actually feel like it looks good. Like it's something I would buy from the store. You know? Do you know what I'm saying? So like everything else before this has been something where I'm like, if I had gone to a store and tried this on, probably wouldn't have bought it, right? So yeah, so it's exciting. And I told myself, I was like, if I'm ever doubting my skills as a knitter again, I'm going to like take this out, this garment is going to come out, and I'm going to look at it and I'll be like, no, you are a knitter. You have the skill like to do this. Just because, yeah, I was starting to doubt if I was like good at knitting, I guess. I don't know. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm sure a lot of you watching are that way as well. So like when you don't do something like perfect, you're like, oh, I suck. But in reality, like, no, it's actually like really good. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to my next finished object. I think this is my last one unless I am missing, am I missing one? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure this is my last one. Okay, yeah, it was like half inside out. Okay, oh my god. I'm sitting on the floor, by the way, like in front of my couch. I don't have like a ton of room around me because like the coffee table is like right in front of me. So apologies. I just feel like my arm keeps hitting because it's like a kind of an L-shaped couch. So there's a couch right here and I keep hitting my arm on it. Okay. So this is the Farnham tee. The pattern is by the Knit Purl Girl, and the yarn that I used is Sandnes Garn, Line. I feel like I feel like I was like consistently hearing people say Line, and then I started hearing people say Lena, which is kind of funny because that's my dog's name. Her name is Lena, but like spelled Lena. So now I don't know what to call it, but Line or Lena. And thankfully my dog is actually at my parents' house right now, so she's not being like super confused by me like saying that. But yeah, so I had their white color, and then this one is green tea, I believe. I will have the numbers down below because I think typically on the ball bands they actually don't actually have one sitting here from when I first started. Yeah, their ball bands don't actually have the like name of the color, they just have the number. So I will have that down below in the description box if you are like interested in one of these colors and want to make sure it's like the same one. Okay, anyways, so yes, the Farnham tee. I feel like this is so hard to show. I will put it on for you guys and I'll show you what it looks like. I have not blocked this. The ends are all woven in, but I haven't blocked it yet, so there's that. Okay, so I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this project. The first thing I want to say is, that I casted this on in between now and the last podcast. So if you're like, whoa, I do not remember you working on that, that's why. Okay. Second thing I want to say is this is actually my first time doing stripes. And I kind of wish that I had done maybe just like a top-down raglan with stripes first. You know, construction that I'm already familiar with, and then adding in the stripes. But I was like, man, stripes are everywhere. Everyone's doing stripes. Like, it's not that hard. You just join the new color of yarn, like whatever, it's no big deal. So I didn't think to like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do stripes on a construction I'm not familiar with. And it would have been fine, except for I was being dumb and I was counting the stripes wrong. So like I would count, you know, you're supposed to do, am I allowed to say this? I don't know if I mean, like, I feel like you could look at it and probably like guess how many stripes of the main color you're supposed to do. But anyway, so I was for the first part I did, for the back panel, I was doing like an extra row of the main color, because when I was counting the rows, I wasn't counting the one on my needle. Like, I'm so embarrassed. And then there's one section where I did one less than I was supposed to, and I'm not sure how that happened. I feel like I should have probably not done stripes. Or like I should have done a stripey project before doing this. Because it kind of threw me off, and it probably shouldn't have, because I feel like it's not that hard of a thing to do. But anyways, I also messed up on the back panel. I doubt you would be able to even tell, but I don't even know what I did. All I know is that when I was doing the short rows on the back panel, there's a part in the pattern that says, oh, now you should have this many stitches on either side of your short rows, or like the short row stitches or whatever. And I had like one less on both sides, and I wasn't sure how that happened. And when I was trying to like, I don't know, I'm not sure what I think I was trying to like fix it, and then I confused myself more, and I just ended up having some, I don't know, some weird I just ended up doing kind of some weird things, and then it didn't really look bad or anything, so I kept going. I didn't rip it out because I wasn't sure how I got to be in a weird spot to begin with. Again, probably should have just ripped it out and tried it again, but I didn't. Yeah, I mean, other than that, it was going pretty well. I do feel like maybe, I don't know, you'll see when I put it on and kind of show you guys. I feel like it's a little big, but did I write it down? Let me actually check, because I have my computer right here. So for your reference, I'm a 41-inch bust, and so I was knitting size G. This is supposed to have about 6 to 8 inches of positive ease. The one that I was knitting was supposed to have 49.25 inches of positive ease. But when I measured this, it was more, I think it was closer to 47 inches. So it actually had 6 inches of positive ease, because I'm a 41-inch bust. Yeah, so that would be 6 inches of positive ease. And so I was going for 8 inches, but I ended up getting 6. And so I basically ended up knitting, I was knitting the size G, but I ended up with the basically size F. What else do I have to say? Yeah, I still feel like that was a little too big. I don't know. Part of me is like, no, it's perfect. But the other part of me was like, when I was putting this on, I was like, like it looks a little, it just looks like a tad bit too baggy. Like there's just a little too much fabric, if that makes sense. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm talking about, because I haven't like put the video in, because I haven't done the video, so I don't know if you'll be able to tell what I'm talking about. Yeah, so that was kind of another weird thing with it. And then the worst part, this is the part where I'm like, man, like, just tell me where I'm supposed to pick up the stitches, how many to do in which section. Don't make me try to, like, don't tell me the rate, because I don't know. I can't remember what the rate in the pattern says to do, but I tried that and I did not have enough stitches. And so then I tried to do it at a quicker rate, I guess. And I still could not get enough stitches. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's because I messed up the short rows on the back panel, but I could only pick up as many stitches as the extra small in the pattern calls for. And I can get this over my head, but this is something where, like, if I was going to wear this out and I wanted to like do my hair and my makeup or something, this would need to go on first, and then I would need to do my makeup and my hair, because it just like it's just, yeah, it's just rat all up in here. And so yeah, I can get it over my head, but it's not the most pleasant of experiences. Like, and then when it's on, it's fine. Like, it doesn't look too tight around my neck or anything, which is nice, because if it was, I probably would never wear it. So like, it's fine around my neck. It's just getting it over my head is a little bit like a tight fit, tight stretch. And that might be the bind off, honestly. So, I did, oh my gosh, that was the other thing. Sorry, speaking of bind offs. So I was looking for like a stretchy bind off for ribbing, like specifically 1x1 rib, and I found this Purl Soho tutorial, and they do this like, they call it a 4-step repeat. I think it's technically 5 steps. And yeah, so it's like this 4-step repeat sewn bind off. And that's what I did for this one as well. I did it for my Lanark. I did it for this. I think there was something else that I did it for at one point. I can't remember, but it's like one of my favorite bind offs. It takes forever. I think when I was binding this off, it took me like, because yeah, I had to do it for the neckline and the body. It took a while. And I did the same one for this, and it also took a while. But anyways, when I was reading the pattern for this, it calls for a tubular bind off. But then when in the pattern, she tells you how to do the tubular bind off, and it's literally the same as I was doing with this, just with like setup rows. And so now I don't understand like why the Purl Soho one did, like that tutorial didn't call it a tubular bind off. I'm like, what is a tubular bind off? Have I been doing a tubular bind off this whole time? I don't know. I don't understand what the difference is between that and a sewn bind off, or if those terms can be used interchangeably. So if you have any idea what I'm talking about and like have some knowledge that you would like to share with the rest of us, and let me know, like, are those the same thing? Are they different? Let me know, because I'm very confused. And I know that like sometimes things have different names, you know, like I think there was like a cast on that I was doing that was like also called something else, and I was like, oh, I didn't know those were the same thing. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, I would say like the neckline looks fine except for like right here. I don't know exactly what happened there, but I feel like from far away you can't really tell. So I don't know, this didn't come out, you know, the best. I heard, who was this? I think it was Marlene Knits. I'll leave her channel link down below. I think she was the one that was saying this, and she had like been reminded, someone else had said this, and she was like, yeah, and I don't know, I think she said like, you win some, you lose some in terms of like finished objects. Like sometimes they turn out well, sometimes they just don't, and this one turned out okay. I'm still gonna wear it, but I don't think it's gonna be my favorite. And at some point I would love to try to knit it again and just see, like, maybe with different yarn if it has a different vibe to it. Oh, and then speaking of the yarn, I have a love-hate relationship with the Line yarn, however you say it. First of all, it feels really nice. The fabric it creates is like, I don't know, it feels like this kind of like soft, lightweight, kind of drapey fabric. Like I actually really like it. However, it shows every single mistake ever. So like anywhere where I kind of was like have like a wonky stitch, it's showing that. I don't know if that'll block out or not, but I'm like, this is not a forgiving yarn, like at all. So yeah, I don't know if I'm tempted to use it again. I really want to use the Tin Line, however you say that. I think it's Tin Silk Mohair, so yeah, Tin Line or Tin Lina, however you say it. I would like to try that because that's like the fingering weight one, because I've heard people say good things about it, but yeah, so I don't know if this will block out and be able to block out some of those wonky stitches, you know, just where your like tension gets weird, or like, I don't know, you know, like shit happens. So anyway, so this is what I have left. I bought 3 balls of the white, and I can't remember how many of the green ones that I bought. But I have 4 whole green skeins and another white skein, so I way overbought yarn for this. I think these are 50 grams. Actually, I have the ball band, so yeah, 50 grams, and they're approximately 110 meters. I'm getting linen in my in my nose. Yeah, I way overbought yarn for this. I don't know. I mean, I always buy 1 extra skein at the very least. But and I guess I did knit a size. I ended up knitting a size like smaller than I was in, like than I was trying to. So I guess that maybe makes sense. Kind of. But anyways, so I'll have to figure out what to do with the leftovers. Let me know if you guys have any, maybe any patterns, like any ideas for like patterns that I could do with not a ton of yarn, but like a good amount. I could do like a, I don't know, I was thinking like if there's like a tank top pattern, maybe like a crop top tank top pattern that I could use this yarn for. I'll have to poke around and see if there's anything that comes up, but I also might just hold on to this until next summer and knit something next summer. I will say, and I know everyone else has been saying this too, but I'm definitely over the summer knits. I want to move on. And I think primarily for me, the reason for that is I want it to be cold. I am so tired of the hot weather. I'm not built for this. I was born and raised in the Seattle area for a reason, because the universe knew that I don't do well being too hot, okay? So I need summer to be over. I need fall to be here. I want to knit sweaters. Don't get me wrong, I am still going to be knitting tops because I have 2 on the needles already, and I'm going to knit tops throughout the year, honestly, too, because a lot of times I'll just wear like tops and like a t-shirt, or no, I meant to say sweatshirt. like a top and a sweatshirt, or like a hoodie or a jacket, or I'm hoping to knit some cardigans this year before the year is over. So or at least a cardigan, and so having like a you know, knitted top underneath a cardigan I feel like would be really cool. So I do plan on knitting more tops like throughout the year. It's not like I'm done, but as of right now, I'm like, I just want cold weather so much that all I want to do is knit on like wool and sweaters, and yeah. Okay, so I think that brings us to whips. The first whip I have for you should probably be a finished object. I've been pretty lazy, and to be honest, I think I kind of forgot about it. So yeah, I finished one sock, okay? And I finished the sock tube for the other, and I just haven't done the heel. So this is West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply, signature 4-ply, I believe is what it's called. And the colorway is Seascape, which is a self-striping yarn, as you can see. And I think I talked about this in my last podcast that I tried to match it up, and I did like a decent job. It's not exact, but you know, whatever. And then this got, oh, can you see that? It got like pulled up. I don't know how that happened. And then anyway, so this is my afterthought heel on the first one. I have a little dog ear situation going on here. I don't know what happened there either, but I'm not gonna worry about it. And yeah, so I haven't blocked this yet. I mean, I'm gonna wait obviously until the second sock is done to block them. And yeah, all I have to do is the afterthought heel on this. Like, it's that close to being done, and I just haven't done it. And yeah, so this is my first time doing afterthought heel. This is actually my second pair of socks. Only my second pair of socks. So yeah, I I realized if I was doing self-striping that I might mess up the striping pattern if I just did like I guess like a regular heel, like a heel flap and gusset. But so I wanted to like try the afterthought heel. I don't know if I would really want to do that again. I just feel like, because like, you know, I'm sitting here being like, well, I would have been done already if I had just done a regular heel, because you just do it and then you do the foot. I don't know if I would do that again, unless I really want to make sure the stripe is like that I'm not messing up the stripe pattern. But I feel like on this one it probably would have been fine because the stripes are so small. These are just, oh, by the way, like other than the afterthought heel, they're just vanilla socks with a 2x2 rib cuff here. Again, I was inspired by Kalilah to do the 2x2 rib cuffs because here's the thing. I have two things that I've been learning recently. So the first thing is that I was really not liking how my I really wasn't liking how my 1x1 rib was looking. And and so that kind of prevented me from getting, like, I did my first pair of socks and then I was like, I was like, wow, that was really fun. I really like knitting socks. But then when I was like every time I would think about starting a new pair, I'd be like, oh, that 1x1 rib though, it looks so bad. And I didn't really know why. Like I don't know. I just like couldn't figure it out. And so I was actually looking the other day because one project that I was doing, I was like, oh, this just looks so bad. And other times my ribbing looks fine and I'm not really sure like what the, like, yeah, I'm not really sure why. Like again, on this, and it's, I don't think this was not twisted rib, I'm pretty sure, or half twisted rib. And like, it looks fine. Like it looks good. I'm like, yeah, that's what ribbing should look like. But I don't feel like I have an example of what my bad ribbing looks like. But anyways, yeah, I just like wasn't happy with it. So I was actually looking this up yesterday, and some people have issues with 1x1 rib or just any type of thing where you're going from knit stitches to purl stitches, because when you go from a knit to a purl and you're bringing that yarn forward, it lengthens the yarn in between the stitches, and so if you don't pull that tight after your first purl stitch, it can kind of make things look a little wonky. So I'm excited to like try that technique out. I've been kind of working on it a little bit. I'm just gonna interrupt this real quick to show you. I did finish the folded collar on the Semper sweater, but oh yeah, this is the example of like what I feel like my bad ribbing looks like. Which I don't mean to say that if your ribbing looks like this that you're bad at ribbing. I just feel like this isn't how it is supposed to look, and I prefer how it's supposed to look over how it looks here. So again, I don't mean to offend anybody if your ribbing looks like this. And I think sometimes you're just at the mercy of the yarn. Like sometimes I think some yarns just don't look as good when it's 1x1 rib. But anyways, I think for the last 3 rows of ribbing on this, I was doing this technique, and I'll leave the Very Pink Knits tutorial link down below where she like shows you what to do. But basically you're just, when you do that first purl stitch, so if it's like, you know, knit to purl to, when you go from the knit to the purl, you just want to bring your yarn back as if you were bringing it back to knit, and just give it a little tug, and then if you need to bring it forward again, like that's fine. But you just kind of tighten it a little bit so that you're tightening up that, because you brought the yarn to the front from a knit stitch, so it's lengthening it, so you could just like kind of tug it back so that you're not lengthening it, if that makes sense. So I probably did not do that justice at all, but I was trying that out, and from like the few little rows that I was able to do it on, I was like, ooh, I feel like this is looking better. So I'm like really excited to do some more 1x1 ribs so I can try that out more and see if that helps my issue. Okay, and then the other issue that I was having is, I'll show you guys. This was also getting on my nerves while I was knitting these socks. So, okay, you guys can kind of see this, right? Like the magic loop, like little seam that you get when you're knitting magic loop sometimes. And I wasn't usually getting it on other in the round magic loop, but on my socks it is pretty obvious. And on this one it's not that bad. I feel like it'll block out for the most part, but on this one it was atrocious. Like it was, oh, that's probably not the right side to show you. It was really bad, okay? And I feel like it got progressively worse. And then I think this around here was where I was like trying to figure out how to fix it. And then at the very top here was where I like think I started to kind of get the hang of it. But yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So I was looking up again like techniques on how to get rid of that, like laddering that is happening. You know, when you're going from needle to needle on magic loop. And I found this really cool tutorial, and it led me kind of down a rabbit hole, but there, I'll leave the tutorial link down below. I forget what the channel was called. And she actually got the idea for how, like what to do from, I want to say it's Earth Tones Girl here on YouTube, and she has her, like, it's a whole like series on YouTube, her No Fear sock knitting class. And I'll leave them both linked down below, but basically, when you're doing magic loop, if you're having laddering on that, like in between those stitches on that are like, you know, in between the needle and stuff, if you actually bring your needle behind the cable before you knit into the first stitch, it helps to tighten everything up. Because a lot of people will tell you that it's like, oh, your stitches are too loose, or oh, you're tightening it too much, and that's causing the ladder. But I tried to fix, like, I was like, okay, I'll fix it being too tight. Okay, I'll fix it being too loose. And it just didn't help. I was still getting laddering. And I think part of the reason, especially for my socks, is that that cable pulls away from the needle. Like, so they're not coming together, and the stitches aren't big enough to like hold the needle or like hold the magic loop cables like together. Does that make, I don't know if that makes any sense. Actually have I have another sock on the needle. Let me show you. So basically, like, see how these are really, oh gosh, sorry, I'm like focusing on my face, but see how when it's like this, the stitches are really far apart, especially for like such small stitches. And so I'll just see if I can show you this really quickly. It's probably not gonna be super clear what I'm doing, but like if I take this and I put, well, to you guys it looks like I'm putting it in front of the cable, but you know, to me, I'm putting it behind the cable and then knitting it into my stitch. So I won't show you any more than that, but I'll leave those tutorials linked down below. I feel like most people will just tell you like, oh, you're either doing it too loose or doing it too tight, but I think nobody really talks about how on magic loop, especially for socks, like the stitches can be so far away from each other if it's not like crossing properly. That being said, this is that sock project that I was working on, and I have so much left over. I'm gonna have to weigh this and see, and maybe I can make like some shorty socks with it or something. I actually might go ahead and see what happens with this yarn if I do like a regular heel flap and gusset, and just see like, does it make the sock striping pattern look weird or what? But yeah, let's go ahead and move on. So once I finished, I didn't finish. Once I got to the point where it was no longer like simple stockinette on those, when I was like just had the heel left to go, I did, I think I finished the first sock and then I put the other sock away because at that point, when I was down in Oregon, it was at that point that a bunch of people came down and were staying with us, and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to focus enough to get that done, because I was already nervous about like cutting into my knitting as it was. So anyways, so I decided I needed to cast on a new sock, and so I feel like I need you guys to see like how cute this stitch marker is. And how well it goes with the sock. So again, this is another vanilla sock, again 2x2 ribbing because I just like the look of it better, and I did a contrasting cuff and this yarn here. So let's talk a little bit about that. So this is the, I believe it's, yeah, Potions and Pearls. Potions and Pearls, I'm pretty sure, is the yarn, indie yarn dyer, and I just bought them off of Etsy. I got this sock set. It is called Peach Party, and it's beautiful. It is so gorgeous. So I'm just extremely obsessed with this color combination. I think it's so pretty. I love it so much. It's so beautiful. Like, hello, come on now. I'm glad that I brought these down with me because casting this on was a really good idea, because I just needed to have like, every once in a while I was like, okay, I just need to pick up something where it's just stockinette. And I did the ribbing pretty quickly, so like that wasn't an issue. That's my second whip. I'll really quickly just show you guys this again. So this is a Simper sweater. It's been on my needles for like a while and I have not been making good progress on it. I finished the ribbing and I did the folded, I did the thing where you fold it and knit into the cast on edge to get the folded collar. So that's actually upside down, sorry. And now I'm doing the setup round for it, so I haven't actually finished that. I'm in the middle of a round. I actually was knitting on that as I was waiting for the batteries on this camera to charge. So as soon as I saw the light was green, I was like, okay, we gotta go. So that's why it's like out like that. I have so many more whips. I think all of these are new cast-ons, except for the socks and the Simper sweater. So this one is exciting. When I got down to Oregon, I was like really, like, I was like, I have to do some color work. I have got to start a color work project because I really want to learn it. It looks like it would be so satisfying. And I just like couldn't get out of my head. So I went to the yarn shop down in Cannon Beach. It's called Coastal Yarns, and I highly recommend it if you're in the area. I just love it there. Like it's such a nice shop. Like it's really pretty in there. They have a lot of yarn. It's a, you know, decent sized yarn shop. I feel like it's not overly big, but it's, yeah, they've got a good inventory there. And I feel like they use the space really well. And the people that work there, are always so nice. So I really enjoy going there. I highly recommend it. But anyway, so I popped in, grabbed some yarn to do a colorwork hat. So I am knitting the Ruska hat, I think is how you say it, by Jessica McDonald. And here it is so far. So here you can see, so like sometimes my 1x1 rib, I feel like it doesn't look too bad. But sometimes I think it's like the yarn is just good for it. I don't know. But yeah, so it's kind of rolling up on itself, so it's like kind of hard to show, but this is what I have so far for the color work. So this is going to be a folded brim, right? So that's why it's so big. And yeah, I'm doing it on magic loop because the pattern didn't necessarily recommend doing, well, okay. It says that that's what Jessica McDonald does, is magic loop. And so I figured, okay, I will do magic loop because at some point I'm gonna have to do color work on magic loop anyways, so I might as well. And I've been using that same technique where when I'm starting a new like, I guess, needle for magic loop, like I bring it around and then the cable goes in front of the needle and then I knit into the first stitch. Or like purl or whatever I'm supposed to do. So I've been doing, I've been holding the yarn in both hands, so I'm doing the whatever color is kind of considered to be like the dominant one in my, I'm throwing that, I'm using that English style, and then for the contrast color I'm holding it in my left hand, doing continental style. And I'm an English style knitter, so the continental style, I feel like so hard. Obviously because I'm not used to it, but yeah, it's trying to learn how to do that has been like strange to say the least, but cool as well. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it would be smart to learn how to do it, you know, because it could turn out that I like it better, or maybe I don't like it better, but it would just, you know, be nice to learn how to do it. So there's that. I started that, yeah, it's probably been on my needles for about a month now, I want to say, because I started it like right when I got down to Oregon, like after I got the yarn. And yeah, I kind of I got like halfway through the color chart for it, which, by the way, if you're like thinking that charts are going to be like really difficult, I thought that they were going to be really hard too, and so far they have not been. So definitely if you're like wanting to start color work but you haven't yet because you think it's going to be like too hard, I would say it's probably not as hard as you think it is, so go for it. I started it, I got like, it took a few days to get the ribbing done for the brim of the hat, and then I got like halfway through the color work chart, and then that was when we had more people staying at the house with us, and so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to work on this, and I haven't picked it up since. But I am using Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock Worsted, and I do have the little ball, well, I guess they're not technically ball bands, but I have those here so I know what the colors are, but I'll just show you. So this is the yellow, the gray, and then the whatever type of blue you would call this. So I tried to basically, because I didn't want to be too indecisive about the colors, so I kind of just picked the ones that were as close to what I could find as like the sample in the pattern. So she used like a, you know, a navy-ish kind of, maybe not navy blue, I don't know what kind of blue you would call it, but like a blue, she used a blue similar to this, maybe a little bit more muted, and then she used a gold, and they didn't have like a gold color, so I got as close as I could. I bought 2 of the gray color because that's what I called for. And let's see, so the gray is Gray Harbor. The gold is spun, or it's not gold. I don't know. To me, this doesn't look gold. It just looks yellow, but it's called Spun Gold. And then this blue is called October Sky. So I've worked with Blue Sky Fiber. I've worked with their, what was it? I think it was like their bulky yarn, and I wasn't a fan of it, but I've been enjoying the, this yarn, the Woolstock Worsted. I've been enjoying it. I don't know if it's my favoriteest wool that I've ever worked on. I would say it's like fairly soft. I wouldn't really describe it as rustic, but it's definitely not like, you know, like a super wash where it's like super soft, you know. I actually I bought some more of this yarn in like a knitting kit. It hasn't gotten here yet, but I was shopping for some other things and I saw this cool kit and I was like, oh, like I like that yarn, so yeah, like I'll get it. But yeah, so that is my first color work project, and now I can't, there's my project pack. Okay, I like couldn't find my project bag. But yeah, so that's been fun, and I'm actually really excited to get back to it. But I'm also not in a hurry because it's not like I could wear it anytime soon anyways, because it's too hot. All right, so next up I have another new cast on. I casted this on down in Oregon, and it is my new Tulsa tee. So if you haven't been tuned into my podcast before this episode, I've already made the Tulsa tee. Sorry, my yarn is all, what the heck? That's another thing. I don't remember what this yarn is. I just remembered that I don't remember what the yarn is, but I know that it's discontinued, so it'll be down in the description box, or I'll put it on, and I'll maybe put it on the screen here, but it'll definitely be in the description box what this yarn is. But yeah, so this is, oh my gosh, I probably should have put this on barber cords or something because I feel like it's gonna be so hard to see. This is my Tulsa tee. And I was saying before the yarn got tangled, I've already done the Tulsa tee, but I did the like original like DK weight. This is the fingering weight. It's so, I'm so sorry. It's all bunched up on the cable, so I feel like you can't really see what's going on here. And it looks like, I feel like it looks like the neck is really wide, but like it's not. So I put it on, I tried it on, and it was looking fine. I wanted to double check the neckline because I felt like it was looking too big. And I think I remember Rebecca saying that the necklines were a little bit wider, and so if you, and I think she actually did this for one of hers maybe, where she like cast it on the size smaller for like the neckline and then like went up to her size. I don't know if that was true. Maybe I made that up. But I feel like I remember her saying that, and I think it was for this. Again, could be wrong, but you could also do that, I feel like, if you wanted to. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, it's coming along. I was kind of flying on this, but then I got to the point where I think I'm like very close to splitting for sleeves. I think I'm almost done with the raglan increases, and I wanted to try it on and make sure that it was okay, because I don't think I did a proper gauge swatch for this, so I wanted to like check my gauge. I wanted to try it on, make sure it was gonna work before I proceeded. So I feel like there's not a whole lot to say about that. It's been really fun to knit. I'm really liking the fabric that this is making, but again, this is a discontinued yarn, so I won't like talk too much about it because you can't get it anymore anyway, so what's the point? That's my Tulsa tee. I'm gonna try to, I think that's the hurdle, honestly, is just putting it back on barber cords and trying it on. When I did that before and I was putting it back on my needles, the barber cord, like separate, or like the try-on cords, whatever you call them, it came off of the needle and I like almost lost a bunch of stitches. It was terrifying, but I picked them all back up and it was fine. I didn't lose any, didn't drop any stitches, like permanently or anything. And yeah, so I've been a little bit hesitant to do that again because I'm like, what if it happens again? But I think it should be fine. I just need to try it on. Also, I'm so sorry if you hear the birds outside. I feel like there's one like right outside the window. It's just like screeching its head off. So if you can hear that, I apologize if it's like obnoxious. But you know, it's nature, you know, it's fine. So I'm hoping to have that Tulsa tea done soon so I can get some wear out of it before it does get colder, but I think still have like a month, I think, of summer, so. And I'm sure it'll get used. Okay, so the next whip that I have is also a new cast on, and kind of funny story with this. So I have been mixing up all of the Cumulus tops. Like there's the Cumulus blouse, there's the Cumulus top, which is the one with the straps, and then there's the Cumulus tee. Now, when I bought the yarn for this project, I bought the yarn for the Cumulus tee, and that's the one I was going to do. And then I got confused because when I was trying to find the pattern to cast on, I found the Cumulus top, and tee and top are so like similar that I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, did I make up that this had short sleeves? Like, I'm so confused. And then I looked at the Cumulus blouse, and that's the one that has sleeves, not the short sleeves, but like longer sleeves. And I was like, man, did I just, like, I'm so confused. And then I looked at like the yarn that is suggested for the Cumulus blouse, and I was like, well, that's not the yarn, like that's not even close to the yarn that I bought for this. So like, I'm really confused. So I was like, whatever, I'll just knit the top. Like, I must have like mixed things up and gotten confused. So I'll just knit the top. And so I bought the pattern for the top and I started knitting it. And then I realized that it was because I was mixing up top and tee, and I realized there was a Cumulus tee, so there was a third one, and I was like, yeah, that was the one that I was trying to knit. And so I ripped out what I had. I had like this much of like one of the like triangles for the top, and I ripped that out, and then I started the Cumulus tee, which is what I originally was trying to do. But it's like a whole detour that I took. So at some point I should probably knit the Cumulus top because I bought the pattern on accident. But anyways, so this is where my top is. It's not on a super long cord, so I can't actually like show you. But this is what it's looking like. I'm totally showing you like the wrong side. So this is how much we have. I think I'm almost done with the raglan increases. I think I only have like a few more rows to do. I'm really loving, or I was really loving knitting on this. I was flying through it. I was obsessed with this. I was like, I'm going to knit so many of these. This is so much fun. And then I broke one of my needles, and now I have had to take a break from knitting this. It was so upsetting. I'm a tangled mess right now. Let me just roll this up real quick. All right, so when this gets down enough, right, where you've used a good amount of it, like the inside of it was starting to get tangled with the outside of it. So like the yarn coming from the outside of the skein and the yarn coming from the inside, like if you were to pull from the center and work on it that way, like those two things were getting tangled, and my camera is gonna die. So let me change the battery real quick. All right, sorry for at like a slightly different angle. I had to change. I had to change the battery in my camera, and every time I have to do that, I have to take the whole tripod off. Like I have to unscrew the thing and everything because Sony is bad at designing cameras. Okay. Anyways, so the outside yarn and the center of the yarn were getting tangled together. So I wound it up into a little ball so that it wouldn't get tangled together anymore. And then this ball rolled itself in between some couch cushions, and when I leaned down to grab it, I put my hand down and I accidentally put it down on the needle and it snapped. It was very traumatic, but anyways. I've ordered a replacement, so I should be back to knitting on this in no time. But yeah, I was really upset too. And I also feel like these are some of my more expensive needles. So I was like, why did these ones have to break? And also, I think this is one of the only, I bought more since, but these are the only ones that I had that were this size. So I'm knitting on 3mm, and I think I only had like this one pair. So I did buy some Chowgu 3mm, and I bought some Knitter's Pride 3mm. So like technically I could change to one of those and get back to knitting on this, but I did buy the Lantern Moon replacement, and I would prefer not to change needles mid-project because I feel like the different finishes, like even if it's both like wood, I feel like it could change my tension, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm just gonna be patient and wait. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying this pattern. I feel like it's so much fun to work on. And this is my first time working with knitting for all of Pure Silk, and I love it. I love it so much. It's creating a really nice fabric. I feel like it's really nice to work with. Like, I've just been having the best time with this project aside from breaking the needle. But yeah, so I feel like I shouldn't spend much more time talking on this because like you can't see much of it anyways. Once I get into knitting in the round, you'll probably be able to see more. So I will obviously show you more in the next podcast episode. And then I have 2 more cast-ons, but this one like doesn't really count. So I only had that 3mm needle, right? So this pattern also calls for 3mm, but because I didn't have it, I was knitting on 3.25mm, and I kind of was like, I don't know if that's gonna work. I kind of want to see what it'll look like on smaller needles and just make sure I have I think I need to do a gauge swatch and just see. But I barely started the Barbara shawl by Gregoria Fibers, and I'm gonna be ripping this out anyways, so it's probably not even worth showing you guys. But I really wanted to do this shawl. I've seen, I think it was Marlene Knits is working on one, or was working on one. I don't think I'm up to date on her podcast episodes, so I don't know if she probably hasn't finished it. And then Amy from Me Knits, she was also working on one, and I just feel like I've been seeing them everywhere, and so I wanted to knit one. And I found this really beautiful hand-dyed yarn at Coastal Yarns. It's one of their like in-house hand-dyed yarns, and so I decided to pick it up and get some. This is in the color Driftwood, and it is their Sneaker Waves DK, I think is what I'm pretty sure that's what they call that yarn. I'll just do a little, I'll show you this while we're talking about it. So I got 4 skeins. It's just this really beautiful hand-dyed yarn. So I'm really excited. I think this is gonna be a fun shawl to have. I've never knit a shawl before, but I've been wanting to for a really long time, so I think it's gonna be really fun. But I think I just need to restart it. I just need to restart the project, so that's a little sneak peek. That leads me to my last cast on, which is kind of a 2-parter, so bear with me. So I have been wanting to do the Weekend Hat by Petite Knit for a really long time now. I feel like I was seeing Kalilah, aka more KopyKali. I've been seeing her knit a few. I think she's done like, I think she's on like her 3rd one. And I don't know, ever since I saw her knitting on like the one that I think was like kind of a pink hand-dyed yarn, I was like, oh my gosh, that looks so much fun, I want to do that. And so I bought some hand-dyed yarn, and I was going to do the Weekend Hat. So I was at a yarn shop in Astoria, Oregon. So I was staying more in the Cannon Beach-ish area, but my mom and I drove up to Astoria one of the days to look at, it's like a quilt and yarn shop. I can't remember, I think it's like Homespun Yarn and Quilts or something like that. And I feel like they're primarily a quilt store, but they did have a yarn section, and they had some yarn from, it's hand-dyed yarn from Quarter Cakes, and I'm pretty sure the lady that was talking to us at the store, I don't know if she was the owner. I feel like she was the owner, but I'm not sure. But she was saying that, I'm pretty sure she said that the dyer was local to the area, so, and that the colorways that they had at the shop were like exclusive to them, so that's kind of cool. So I picked up, again, it's some DK yarn. The yarn dyer is Quarter Cakes. I'll have their website linked down below, and this colorway is 2 scoops, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I have the ball band with me at the moment. Okay, so yeah, I don't have the ball band on me right now, but I'm pretty sure it is their Superwash Merino, and it is 3-ply. So yeah, this is in the shade 2 scoops. Again, I'm pretty sure this is exclusive to that shop, so I don't know if you can get it without going into the physical store or not, but I could be wrong. Like, maybe she meant that there were a few that were exclusive. But anyways, it was really fun to go in there. My mom and I had a really good time going in there. And I was going to knit the weekend hat, and so I started. And again, this is another example of what I view as like not great 1x1 rib. Like, I don't like how this looks. Again, I do not mean to offend anybody if your ribbing looks like that. Sometimes I just feel like that's how it looks, but I just personally don't like it. And when I was seeing other people knit this up, like, their ribbing was just so much neater, and I liked how theirs looked, and I was not liking how mine looked. Now, the other thing is my gauge on this was really off, so I didn't do a gauge swatch. And when I got here, you know, I did measure my gauge, and I had way too many stitches, so I need to go up a needle size. But the problem is, I'll just do this, I'll just show you guys. I put it on the barber cords so that I could put this on my head, and it's way too loose. It's just too loose. And if I can show you guys, like, here, like, I don't know. It stretches a lot. I mean, it's ribbed, but when it's like stretched like this, I just don't like the fabric. Like, it's very see-through. It's just not what I wanted. And so I didn't know, like, cause I don't want to go up in needle size to hit gauge, because then it would be even looser fabric. And I was just like, I was like, I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. And it's so loose, already. So yeah, I just like was not sure what was going on. So I was thinking maybe this yarn just doesn't work for this project, and that's okay. So I decided, instead of doing the weekend hat, which I will do at some point, I don't know, maybe I'll use some of the suggested yarn that the weekend hat uses to like make sure I'm getting like proper gauge and all of that. I feel like it's hard to do gauge swatches with like ribbing, because it's so like, it can be like this. I feel like the stretch is also determined by like the yarn as well, so I feel like you just don't really know. And I mean, I don't think you're supposed to stretch it out when you're counting your stitches and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. So the other thing though is I'm gonna try that technique that that Very Pink Knits tutorial goes over, because when she was showing like the difference between, she had done a swatch where she did the technique and a swatch where she didn't do the technique, and it was on like it wasn't 1x1 rib, it was like a totally different pattern. But the one where she did the technique, it was like an inch shorter than the one where she didn't do the technique, so it tightens up your ribbing. So I was like thinking maybe I need, you know, go up a needle size and tighten up, so like maybe there's less like see-throughness. I don't know. So have some things to figure out with the weekend hat. I will be ripping this out, but I wanted to save it to show you guys what I was talking about, because I didn't think I would do a good job of explaining like why I wasn't liking the fabric. But yeah, so instead of the weekend hat, and I have 2 skeins of this. and I'm going to probably end up using all of one of them and then like some of the other for a different hat. So, and like not that different of a hat, but I am doing the Oslo hat instead also by Petite Knits. So this is what I have so far. I've done the folded like brim here. I've done the like that part where you turn your work. For the Oslo hat, I found there's a tutorial on Petite Knit. I think there's actually a couple of tutorials on Petite Knit's site for how to do the folded brim, like how to knit them together. And then I think there's another tutorial, but I don't remember what part that was for. But anyways, I also found and I'll leave this video link down below. Knit California is the channel name, and oh my gosh, I'm like blanking. Is her name Leslie, or am I totally thinking of someone else? I'm so sorry if I am getting that wrong. I'll put it on the screen, but the Knit California video on, it's like Oslo Hat Explained, I think is the title. I'll leave it linked down below because that was super helpful. And I just recently started watching her podcast, so yeah, but that video was super duper helpful in kind of visually seeing what was going on with like the wrap and turn, because I got like, wasn't like confused necessarily, but I was sort of like overthinking it because I was like, that just seems weird. That doesn't seem right. And so I watched that video and I was like, no, it is right. Okay. Okay, I'm doing it right. Like, okay. So anyways, but yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with the Oslo hat. I think this is gonna be one of those things that I knit a lot of. Like, I can just see this being my go-to hat pattern, especially since like it's not gonna require that much hand-dyed yarn, so I can like get some fun hand-dyed yarn and knit this, and yeah. So, and I just think this is turning out so well. It kind of looks tie-dyed, which is really cool. I love a good tie-dye, so yeah, super excited about this. And I've been obsessed with knitting this ever since my needle broke. Well, so I was using this as like my, you know, just pure stockinette in the round. But yeah, like this has just been my kind of go-to, like when I just need like pure in the round stockinette stitch. Don't need to think about my knitting at all. So this is what I've been knitting on kind of like during meetings, or when I'm like, you know, like, oh, I finished a task at work and then I look at the clock and I'm like, oh, okay, I only have like 10 minutes until my next meeting. Let me just like knit so I don't, because sometimes if I try to get into the next task, then I'm like, will forget about the meeting and then I'll be late to it. So like, I'm like, okay, let me just knit for 10 minutes. And then once my needle broke on my Cumulus tee, I kind of zeroed in on this guy. And yeah, it's just been really fun to knit on this. So I would definitely recommend this pattern. And if you're thinking like, oh no, it's too complicated, watch the tutorials on the Petite Knit site for this pattern, but also watch Knit California's video on this, because I think she does a good job of explaining and like helping you visualize like what's actually going on with it. But I don't actually think it's that hard. I just think it seems like it's hard because it's kind of like hard to, I think like, you know, if you're trying to visualize it just from reading the pattern, it can kind of be like, what am I supposed to do? I don't, you know, and I feel like it's easy to overthink because you're like, this seems wrong, but no, it's not. And that's all of the whips. It was a lot of whips, and that means that it is time to chat about acquisitions. So I already talked about these. Again, the coastal yarns, sneaker waves, and this is in driftwood. So there's that. Again, making the Gregoria Fibers Barbara shawl. I talked about the 2 scoops that I'm using for my weekend, my Oslo hat, originally for the weekend hat, but now for the Oslo hat. And then while at that same store, the same one in Astoria, this is the same brand, Quarter Cakes, I saw this. It's the reverse rainbow color. And again, yeah, so this is the same. I think this is just a sport weight. So yeah, this is 100% superwash merino. And yeah, reverse rainbow. So I saw they had a sample in their store of this shawl, and I think it was called like silver leaf, like the silver leaf shawl. I think I'll put it up on the screen. And I saw it and it was in this yarn, in this colorway, and I was like, wow, that's so cute. Like, I don't know if I'm a shawl person yet because I've never made one, and I don't think I've ever bought a shawl, but I've always loved the idea of being able to kind of like wrap up in something when maybe you don't want to wear a jacket or a sweater, but you want something. But anyways, I saw it in the store and I was like, that's super cute and it looks super fun to knit. And so the lady there, you know, said, oh, I only used one skein. And so I bought one skein, and then I was looking at the pattern later because I didn't buy the pattern. Like, I think they sold the pattern in the store, but I was like, I'll just buy it on Ravelry because I'd rather have the, I don't like need a physical copy is basically what I was trying to say. And so I didn't look at the pattern until I got home, and I realized like, oh, the pattern says to have like, it's more like 600 yards. So I don't know, it was like something like 400 to 600-ish yards, give or take. And this is only 328 yards. And so I was like, I don't know how you did that unless you were making like a smaller size or something. So because she said she had like a good amount of yarn left, and so I was kind of like, like what if my gauge is different and I don't have enough yarn? So my mom was going back there to drop off her sewing machine because they do sewing machine like repairs and maintenance and stuff. So I had her buy me another one because I was like, I'm just nervous, like I want to make sure the shawl, because also I think the woman that was working there was smaller than me, so I was like, maybe it fits her, but like it might not fit me, so I want to make sure I have enough yarn to like make it as big as I can, essentially. So I don't know. And then I was also kind of thinking too, I was like, what if I made an Oslo hat with this instead? I kind of want to. So I was thinking like, what if the shawl would look better in like a different colorway? Like what if, like it looked really, really cool, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, what if I wanted to do it in a different color? So I might do a hat out of this instead, but I feel like whatever I make with it's gonna be really cool because I'm sorry, did you guys see this? Did I hold it up long enough for you to see? Like, that is cool, okay? Like what? I'm obsessed. Anyways, then while I was buying the Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock worsted yarn from Coastal Yarns, which is again is the Cannon Beach yarn shop, I also found this sock yarn. It's from Opal, which I think is a German brand because the label is in, a lot of it is in German, or at least yeah, well, and it says made in Germany. It's their Van Gogh collection of sock yarn. It's like self-striping sock yarn, and it's based off this color, this painting, which I think is, I'm not really a like an art person, if that makes sense. I think it's Terrace at Night is the painting. I feel like it says the painting name, but like it says it in French or in German or something, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. Let me look it up. Yeah, Cafe Terrace at Night is the title of the painting in English. Okay, and then I went to one more yarn store while I was down on the Oregon coast, and this one my mom and I drove into Tillamook, which if you think about like if you're not familiar with the area, but you've ever bought like Tillamook cheese or ice cream. But anyways, so their yarn store down there, but they had kind of a mix of like hand-dyed yarn and some more commercial yarn. I think, yeah, I was kind of more interested in the hand-dyed yarn that was there, but it was kind of a smaller shop. And my hanks are trying to, I feel like I've been kind of putting these, because they traveled with me, they kind of have been put through the ringer a little bit, so I should probably be careful. I saw this yarn, this sock yarn. So this, I don't really know how to say this, the Araucania? I don't know how to say it. I'm not gonna try. I'm butchering it, and I don't know how to say this, like Huasco. Huasco sock. Again, I don't know how to say this. This is made in, hand dyed, hand spun maybe, and hand dyed in Turkey. I don't know if it's hand spun. Maybe it's just fun. But yeah, this is just a sock yarn. And what is the color is Rosa Dorado. Rosa Dorada. So yeah, it just has like a lot of purple, greens, blues, pinks. I just thought it looked really cool, and I thought it would be like, and it's kind of speckled too, like it's not really variegated, it's more speckled, if that makes sense. And I just thought that would look really cool in a sock, so I wanted to get that. And then, oh yeah, and then I also found some more sock yarn. This, I don't know, I hadn't heard of this brand before. It's, I think it's Wisdom Yarns, and it's their Wacky Sacky, like sock yarn. It's 50% merino superwash, and it's then 25% bamboo and 25% nylon. So it's gonna be interesting. I don't think I've worked with anything quite like this yet, but this colorway was just speaking to me. And I think this is actually, it's not self-striping. I mean, it is, but it's like a self-patterning sock. So I've never worked with something like that before, so I thought I would try it out and see if I like it. It just seemed cool, and I was really drawn to those colors. And then this is like the big thing that I bought was 2 of these skeins from Ba Yarn, and it's their La Joya. I cannot speak Spanish. I was just about to say I can speak Spanish. I can't. I can pronounce this though. La Joya. It's 100% superwash merino, and this is in the colorway Love You Store 23. So I don't know if this was like specific to that store. That would be cool if they got their own like colorways for that store. But these were the last 2 in the store, and I snagged them up because they're freaking beautiful. And I want to make another mini mock neck tank in some hand-dyed yarn because I really loved how my first one came out, and I just think it would be really cool in some hand-dyed yarn. So yay! So I had to buy 2 because so let's see, with this yarn I had 3 skeins, and this is how much I had left over, and these were 50 grams, and these are 100 grams, so I should be able to make that work. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was everything knitting related to talk about. I won't go into kind of future plans because I have a lot of new cast-ons that need my attention, and as far as new cast-ons go, I mean, I do have some upcoming ideas for like what sweaters I would want to cast on next and things like that, but I'm just not anywhere near being able to do that right now, so I'll save that for another podcast episode. Normally, like in the past couple of episodes, I've been talking about media things, or I mean, at least the last podcast episode, I think I did it for the last 2, but maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was just the last one, but I just because I like to knit while watching TV or while reading or something, or watching YouTube videos, I like to talk about like what I'm watching. So I was going to skip this part, but I feel like I'll go ahead and try to speed through. I'll talk about, and if you're leaving me here because the knitting part is done, I want to say thank you so much for watching, and if you can do me a favor, if you've been liking my podcast episodes, make sure you subscribe to my channel before you go, because that, you know, helps me out, and it lets YouTube know that other people might like my videos as well. But thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in my next knitting podcast, or maybe in my next knitting vlog. But if you're gonna stick around and talk about like some media recommendations with me, I'm gonna start with knitting podcasts that I've been watching. So I have fully caught up. I went back from her very first podcast episode and watched all the way through. I've been watching Amy from Marlene Knits. I'll have her channel linked down below. I really love her podcast. I feel like everything she knits is something that I would pick to knit for myself as well. So that's just been a really inspiring podcast because I'm always like so intrigued by everything that she's been knitting. And yeah, I've been really enjoying her podcast. And then who else have I been watching? I've been catching up with Megha from Skeins of Dreams. I feel like there was like maybe like she took a little bit of a break, or there was just a longer period in between her podcast where I just didn't realize that she was back to podcasting. So I don't think she took that long of a break. But then I realized, I was like, oh, I have like 4 episodes I haven't watched, so I gotta get back into that. So I was doing that today. And then another new to me podcast that I'm really excited about, that I've only watched I think her most recent, and then I went back to the her first podcast, and my plan is to watch all the way through. But I've been watching Lizzie from Hive Knits and Natters. I feel like you gotta say it in a British accent because it sounds better. But yeah, Lizzie from Hive Knits and Natters, and I really enjoy her knitting podcast style because I feel like it's kind of similar to mine. It's a little chatty, a little rambly, so I like that. It just feels like you're, you know, sitting and chatting with like a friend, and just kind of, yeah. I'm really excited to watch my way through her podcast, and she has I think it's still being test knit, but she has her, I think it's the Resta sweater. It looks like so much fun to knit, so I'm excited. Definitely gonna keep my eye on that. And it was funny because I was like, oh, I gotta make sure I'm following her on Instagram because I want to, you know, make sure I can see when that sweater comes out, or when the pattern comes out. And then I went to Instagram and I looked up her Instagram, and I was like, oh wait, I'm already following her. And that was funny because I was like, how did I not know that she had a podcast and I'm already following her on Instagram? But anyways, that was fun. I found a new channel. I love when I find new to me knitting podcasts. She's not new at knitting podcasts, like she's been doing it for a while, but new to me, so that was fun. I'm trying to think of who else. Oh, Marlene Knits is another person I feel like I've been watching more of. I heard I think it was Kalilah mention her in like a vlog or something, so I've been watching her podcast as well. I think I also need to go back and like rewatch from the beginning. I like doing that because it just gives you so much to binge watch. So anyways, I will leave all of them linked down below if you maybe haven't watched them yet, if they're maybe new to you as well. As far as books go, I'm in a little bit of a book drought or something. Ever since I finished Fourth Wing, I just haven't been able to read I keep DNFing books because I'm really craving a fantasy book that has romance in it versus a fantasy romance book. And I feel like just a lot of the books that I've been finding are just romance books that have a little bit of fantasy in them, and it's just hasn't been, I don't know, there were a few that were just really badly written that I was like, well, not reading that. And then there's been some where, yeah, I just couldn't, for whatever reason, I was like, I can't get into this plot, or I can't get into this story, or I don't really like these characters. There's always like something. There is a book I'm currently reading that is promising. I think I have fiber in my eye. Yeah, the book I'm currently reading, it's like something happened in the book that really took me out of the story, like, and I'm only a few chapters in and I just haven't gotten back into it. So I'm trying to see if I can get back into that book and see if I can get past the thing that took me out of the story. And then as far as shows go, I stopped rewatching Bones. If you've watched Bones and you remember, I'm no spoilers, but it's usually end of season 6. I'm like, nope, can't keep rewatching this. The show just makes me sad, and I feel like there's not enough to like redeem it. So I stopped watching. Like I feel like every time I try to rewatch Bones, I get to season 6 and then I'm out. So I think it's season 6. It might be season 5, but I think it's season 6. Anyways, so I stopped rewatching that. And then there was an episode that I kind of nerded out about on Bones where it has Enrico Colatoni from, I know him from Veronica Mars. I think he was in something else that made him like more well known prior to being in Veronica Mars. I don't remember, but it has him, and it also has I think it's Francis Capra, who plays Weevil in Veronica Mars. They're in the show, but they don't have any scenes together. But like, I'm like, whoever casted this like knew, right? Like they knew. And I thought that was really funny, and so that made me want to rewatch Veronica Mars, which is also one of my comfort shows. And I love it so much and I nerd out about it all the time. But then I was watching a writing vlog from one of the like author tubers that I watch, and she was mentioning that her and her partner had started rewatching Chuck, and I was like instantly like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen Chuck in forever. I love that show. Like, I have to go rewatch that show. I had to go rewatch it. So I started rewatching Chuck. It's been a really good choice. It's on Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it for free, I'm pretty sure. It's been really fun. I think I'm closing on, is it season 2 or season 3 maybe? I can't remember, but such a good show. Yeah, let me know what you've been watching, what you've been reading. Let me know what you've been knitting on. I would love to hear, or whatever other crafts you're doing. And yeah, I think that's it for me. So thank you so much for watching this podcast episode. Sorry again for the wait, but you know, it was worth it. I ended up not being too hot while we were talking, so that's good. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some good knitting in. Again, leave me a comment, let me know what you've been knitting on, and if you were knitting on something while you were watching, let me know what you were working on. And then of course too, if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. If you're enjoying this content, make sure you're subscribed, make sure to give it a thumbs up before you go, and I will see you in my next knitting podcast or in my next knitting vlog, whichever one comes first. So I'll see you soon. Bye.
Alright, this is a song that I wrote about falling too fast, but I wouldn't know anything about that.
I don't wanna lose my grounding, so you catch me not responding, and I press my lips together so you don't find any answer.